Have you ever noticed that the person who hurt you can sometimes stay in your mind longer than the people who treated you well? You may have moved on. You may not even want them back. You may know that the relationship wasn't good for you. And yet, your brain keeps going back. You remember conversations. You remember what they said. You remember how they treated you. You wonder, why did they do that? Why wasn't I enough? Could I have done something differently? And sometimes you don't even miss the person. You just can't stop thinking about what happened. Why does this happen? One reason is your brain doesn't like unfinished stories. When something ends without a satisfying explanation, your mind keeps returning to it. It's trying to make sense of what happened. Imagine watching a movie and the final 10 minutes are missing. You would probably keep thinking about the ending. You'd create theories. You'd try to figure out what happened. Your brain does something similar with emotional experiences. When someone hurts you and you don't understand why, your mind keeps searching for an explanation. And this can create a loop. What did I do wrong? Why did they change? Did they ever care? What if I had said something differently? The problem is, sometimes there is no satisfying answer. And continuing to search doesn't create closure. It creates more questions. There's another reason. Painful memories can stay strong. Emotional experiences are often remembered more intensely than ordinary experiences. If something made you feel deeply rejected, betrayed, embarrassed, or hurt, your brain pays attention. It treats the experience as important information. It's almost like your brain is saying, remember this, don't let this happen again. So the memory stays available, not because you want to suffer, but because your brain is trying to protect you. And this is why a painful experience from years ago can suddenly come back because something reminds you of it. A song, a place, a message, a familiar situation. And suddenly, you're back in that moment. But remembering something doesn't mean you haven't moved on. Sometimes it simply means your brain recognized a familiar emotional pattern. There's also something called rumination. Rumination is when your mind repeatedly thinks about the same problem without actually solving it. You replay the conversation. Imagine different responses. Think about what you should have said. Then replay it again. At first, it feels like you're trying to understand. But eventually, you're simply repeating the same pain. And here's the important difference. Reflection asks, what can I learn from this? Rumination asks, why did this happen to me? Reflection has an end point. Rumination doesn't. You can think about the same situation for hours and still not find a satisfying answer. That's because your brain is trying to solve an emotional problem with endless thinking. But not every emotional problem has a logical solution. Sometimes someone hurt you because they made a bad choice. Sometimes they were emotionally immature. Sometimes they couldn't give you what you needed. Sometimes they simply didn't value the relationship in the same way you did. And sometimes you may never know the real reason. That's difficult to accept because uncertainty can feel worse than a painful answer. So the brain keeps searching. But closure doesn't always come from understanding the other person. Sometimes closure comes from accepting that you may never understand them. There's another reason we can become stuck thinking about someone. We remember the good moments too. Maybe there were beautiful memories. Maybe they made you feel special. Maybe there were moments when everything felt perfect. So your brain creates a conflict. One part of you remembers how much you cared. Another part remembers how badly you were hurt. And you start asking, which version was real? The answer may be both. Someone can make you happy and still hurt you. Someone can have good qualities and still be wrong for you. A relationship doesn't have to be completely bad for you to decide that it isn't healthy for you. This is important because sometimes people stay emotionally attached to a version of someone that no longer exists. They don't necessarily miss the person as they are now. They miss who that person was or who they hoped they would become. And hope can be powerful. You think, maybe they'll change. Maybe they'll realize what they lost. Maybe one day they'll understand.